Hi, everybody. Matt Bernier, joined by the DRF National handicapper, Mike Watchmaker, taking a look at this weekend's Weekend Warrior for the weekend of August the 18th. We've got a number of graded stakes all over the place. Grade 1 races out on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and then a nice listed stake, or a non-graded stake, I should say, north of the border, the third leg of the Canadian Triple Crown. Let's start off, Mike, out on the West Coast. We'll start down at Del Mar, one of the graded stakes out there. Race 6 is the Del Mar Handicap. Few different ways in here, especially because it seems like some of the lower prices, the more logical contenders, you can poke some holes in. And where are you going to go?
Absolutely, Matt. I mean, there's nobody in this race that looks so imposing that you can't take a shot with someone a little creative in here, and that's what I did with Fashion Business. Fashion Business didn't move a muscle last time out in the Eddie Reed, but I'm willing to forgive that performance because he's going to be a big enough price where you could do that. Whereas with It's in the Post, he was ice on the board in the Eddie Reed, and he backed up badly in the stretch. And while he's got, a pass that says that he could win this race any old time, he's winless on the turf course at Del Mar, and I just can't take him off that performance. And he's going to be a short price, one of the favorites in here, whereas Fashion Business is going to be a bit of a price. And what really attracts me to Fashion Business was this race 2 starts back in the Manhattan. That was a grade 1 race. It was a pretty solid race. The form of that race has held up subsequently, and Fashion Business was caught 4 wide around the far turn. He finished 5th. He was beaten 1 length for it all. He finished ahead of Robert Bruce in that race. Robert Bruce, of course, came back last Saturday to win the Arlington Million. 3 starts back in his seasonal bow Fashion Week. Fashion Business couldn't have been more impressive, winning an allowance race at Santa Anita. I think this horse at this time, in this spot, at this distance, is just an interesting horse at the right price.
Race 10 at Woodbine on Saturday is the third leg of the Canadian Triple Crown, the Breeders' Stakes. There is no Wonder Godot in here. She's going to be running in the Travers, or it sounds like anyway, next weekend up at Saratoga against the boys. That, to me, leaves this race at 1.5 miles on the turf, relatively wide open. Where'd you decide to go?
I went with Say the Word in here, Matt. I mean, ahead by a century is probably going to be the favorite here, only because he finished second to Wonder Godot, I guess is the way they say it, in the Queen's Plate and in the Prince of Wales's, the first 2 legs of the Canadian Triple Crown. And I suppose he could win this race, but this is going to be his career debut on turf. And while his synthetic form suggests he should be able to transition to turf, why do you want to take a short price on a horse going 1.5 miles on the turf for the first time? I don't. So Say the Word in his last attempt on turf, 3 starts back in a maiden special weight race at Keeneland. He was very impressive visually. It wasn't a particularly fast race, but visually it was a very impressive performance, and he showed just the kind of turn of foot that I'm looking for in this race. And I think he's going to really enjoy switching back to turf. I think he's going to offer a little bit of value in this race. I just think he's an intriguing sort with I think, a vulnerable favorite.
Wrap things up with the big one up at the Spa Saturday. The Grade 1 Alabama 3-year-old fillies, 1.25 miles. Made mention. Wonder Godot sounds like she's going next week in the Travers. You have No Monomoy Girl. You do have Midnight Bisou and Talk Vouv to me, but I think you can poke some holes in them as well. Where'd you decide to go?
Well, I think you can. I mean, first of all, Midnight Bisou and Talk Vouv to me are absolutely the 2 best fillies in this race. There's just no question about it. But, this race is not being run in a vacuum. It's being run at 1.25 miles. That's a significant distance stretch out for both of these fillies. And I have real questions about anybody in this race going 1.25 miles, let alone the first 2 favorites. I mean, Midnight Bisou has had 2 1/8 races in her career. Neither setup was exactly ideal, but she didn't really finish strongly in either one of those races. And Talk Vouv, to me, really looks like a middle distance horse. She's never gone beyond 1.16 miles. Maybe they'll surprise me. They're going to be short prices. I just thought Eskimo Kisses at the distance was the right kind of horse. I mean, she's an okay horse. She finished second in the Ashland. She finished second in the Fairgrounds Oaks. She finished 4th after a less than ideal trip in the Kentucky Oaks. She ran in the Coaching Club American Oaks, her first start in 2.5 months last time out. She was a soundly beaten 4th of 5 that day, but the pace in that race was so slow, it compromised her late kick. I think she'll benefit from that race. I think the pace will be a little bit more to her liking this time around, and she just looks like the one with her pick up the pieces late running style that might actually appreciate this 10 furlongs.
DRF's national handicapper, Mike Watchmaker, with this weekend's Weekend Warrior. You can find the entire write-up over on drf.com. Mike, great stuff as always. Talk again next week.
Thank you, Matt.